I had a birthday last week, and as you get older, unlike Eric, I'm actually aging, but as you get older, you start longing for nostalgia because everything was better in the old days, and that's certainly true with the mining space. So in my quest for nostalgia, I'm from Vancouver, I was very happy to find a bookseller here in Toronto that was selling the textbook that I had when I was in grade 1. It's called 7 is Magic. And this title has stuck with me all my life. In this world we're in now where every fact you believe is now open to debate, there is one thing you can count on. 7 is magic, and with that in mind, I'm going to give you 7 reasons why you should own Excelsior Mining right now. We are going to be the next new copper producer in the United States. The project is called Gunnison. It's located in Arizona. It's a big deposit, 5 billion pounds of copper. And what makes the project special is we're not going to dig the copper out of the ground, we're going to pump it out of the ground. We're using water, actually. Using injection and recovery boreholes. So I know we have some shareholders here, but if you're not familiar with in situ recovery, it's not a new mining method. It's been around for decades, used for a variety of metals. You don't see it very often for copper because you need a very specific geology, and that geology has only been seen in Arizona. But if you can find a deposit, doesn't matter the metal, that's amenable to this kind of mining, then good for you because the operating costs are lower. We are on the very cusp of production. We expect to be producing copper next quarter in Q2. So if you are looking for exposure to pure, unhedged copper production, then we will be the next new copper producer in the United States, and we're fully financed. And in this market, only the best projects get financed. We've raised $171 million US on this project to date. We only have 240 million shares out, so we think we've done a very good job at keeping the share structure intact. And as Eric just said, if you look at our stock chart, we are on sale. The biggest shareholder today is Greenstone Resources. They've got over 47% of Excelsior Mining. They're a private equity group out of London, a mining group, highly technical. And that leads me to the third reason to own Excelsior Mining, which is we have done a very good job at attracting significant base metal institutions into this deal. I just mentioned Greenstone. They've got $58 million invested into Excelsior Mining. They've done that through a series of financings. Each one involved a full due diligence sweep. The project financing was provided by Triple Flag. They provided a $65 million metal streaming agreement. If you go on these billboards or these chat rooms, and I highly suggest you don't, but if you do, you're going to come across this phrase, do your own due diligence. I like this stock, do your own due diligence. You see it all the time. But I would argue that as a retail investor, like most of you in this room, certainly myself, you can't do the due diligence because you don't have the access. You do not sign a CA with the mining firms. You do not have access to the full technical data, the full financial data. These firms do. That's why you want to see firms like this in your deal. It's an advanced deal. If you're looking at an advanced mining project and they do not have institutional ownership, that's a big red flag. And so these firms have done their due diligence for you. So having these firms in Excelsior Mining is a major endorsement for the quality of our project and the ability of our management team to execute. And management is the fourth reason to own Excelsior Mining. So I came to a presentation at least 10 years ago. It looked exactly like this. I would have sat at the back, at the aisle, just like that gentleman there. And I listened to the presentation, and I liked it, and I bought the stock. I bought the stock because the CEO, he presented well, and I thought he was smart. That's the reason I bought it. And the investment did not go well. And in retrospect, I think the reason I thought he was smart was because he kept saying over and over again during his presentation that he was smart. But what he lacked was operations experience. And that's very common within the junior mining space. The vast majority of junior mining management teams have never put a mine into production. These gentlemen, Stephen Twyrold, Roland Goodgame, they have genuine operations experience. They've got big mining company pedigrees. They work for Western Mining, which became BHP. They've operated mines all over the world. On the flip side, they had a small junior nickel project, which they took from development, put it into production, sold it. So they've been through all this before. These mining startups are puzzles, complicated puzzles that require a very specific skill set to be successful, and we would never have been able to attract the quality of investors that we have, the Greenstones of the world, for example, unless the management team and the data that they've been producing demonstrated that they had the ability to make this project successful. So there's lots of advantages to in situ recovery, and I mentioned low cost off the top. What I want to talk about on this slide is the small environmental footprint. So during operations, it's all very quiet, there's no noise, there's no dust, we don't do any blasting, and when we're done mining, on the surface and below the surface, you will have trouble knowing we're ever there. And that is completely unlike a conventional mining operation, for example, where you'd have an open pit. The open pit could fill with water. That groundwater becomes acidic. Now you've got acid mine drainage. You've got a big problem. That is an impossible outcome with in situ mining. We believe we have the world's most environmentally friendly base metal project. That is probably not good enough for Greta, but we do believe it's going to make us attractive to this growing class of funds, ESG, Environment Social Governance Funds, which have a mandate to invest in companies like Excelsior that are operating with minimal impact in the environment. So that is an aerial view looking down from above on our well field. It's about 400 feet by 400 feet. It's fully constructed. The construction's all done. And if you get into the well field, there's 41 production wells, 16 injection wells. So the injection wells have 400 feet of casing that goes through the dry alluvium, the gravel, and then it gets down into the mineralized zone. The mineralized zone is about 600 to 800 feet thick. It's wet, and at that point, it's just an open well. Each injection well is surrounded by 4 recovery wells. And then as you get into the well field, and certainly over time, it starts to approach a 1-to-1 ratio whereby every recovery well is surrounded by 4 injection wells. Now we're taking this one step further. So we're in the process right now of making our well field entirely reversible so that with a flick of the switch, we'll be able to make any injection well a recovery well and vice versa. And what that's going to do is reduce the effective distance between the wells, allow us to get into production sooner, quicker. And that work, we announced that work about a month ago. It's going very well. We expect to update the market here very shortly. And as I said, we expect to be producing copper in Q2. So the backbone of Excelsior's story is industry-leading economics. It's the reason why you would want to own Excelsior. It's the primary reason to own Excelsior Mining. All of these numbers revolve around the low operating cost of $1.33 a pound. That's an all-in cost. And that is also the key to our risk management. So everybody wants $3 copper, but the copper price can collapse, come down below $2 a pound. We're still in business. We're still operating. The net present value of $730 million, that is about 5 times. We're trading at about 1/5 of that value today. So there's lots of room for upside should you become a shareholder. This is a stage project. We start off at 25 million pounds per year. Those production facilities are in place, ready to go right now. And then we ramp up over time to full production of 125 million pounds per year. So there is an expansion in Excelsior's future. This year, 2020, will only be about optimizing the production. And then in 2021, we will look at making a decision on the expansion. And the 7th reason to own Excelsior Mining, and remember, we are about to complete this transition from developer to producer status, and traditionally that warrants a re-rating of the share price. So this chart, you've probably seen it before, it's looking at the life cycle of a deposit in terms of value creation. So you can create a lot of value by making a discovery, and every single gentleman that spoke before me spoke about those kinds of opportunities. But the other place where you can create value is by successfully transitioning from a development company into a producer. It does not happen very often, where Excelsior is going to be the 1 in 1,000 that actually does it. And as I say, traditionally that generates a re-rating of the share price. So with the more than 7 seconds that I have left, I'll encourage you to think about Excelsior, and I hope that you'll come by and visit me at my booth. Thank you very much.